All right, so you threw this to me off air right before we started recording. You asked me this. I'm gonna throw it right back at you and let you start this discussion. When was the moment that you
Mm,
realized this was real? And I guess I should preface it by saying we knew this was coming. Like if you pay
yes.
any attention to college sports and the back channels, like the nonsense that's going on in meeting rooms and courtrooms and all that kind of stuff, you knew this was coming. If you listen to the podcast, you should know this was coming. We had Andy Katz on to
Yes.
explain to us that July 1st was the date, and he expected big sweeping change because all these states had passed legislation, and surely by July 1st there was going to be a uniform deal. So it wasn't exactly a surprise. But as you asked me, I am now going to ask you, when did it sink in that this is the reality, this is the world we live in, that college athletes will now be able to do endorsements, to use their name and their image and their likeness to make money?
Mm. Yeah. So this was, when your cherry is popped in the world of NIL, this is when, like you said, the old guard loses their mind because they can't believe this day exists. The first sign that I saw that it was coming was Trent Frazier, friend of the program, Illinois guard. He had a countdown on his Instagram that was like, it was like it started like a day before, and it was like 24 hours until NIL rights, and he's like DM me with any opportunities, I'll do whatever. So that was when I first saw, oh wow, like this is really coming, this is really happening. But the name that we talk about in this program, a guy who went back, a Hawkeye at heart, Jordan Bohannon, was the
Mm.
first man that I saw, and it was fireworks. It was a firework company. I think it was Boom Fireworks. He's going to go there. He's going to sign autographs. He's going to sell fireworks. And I think we talked about a lot of different, car dealerships and the usual
Mhm.
suspects. But the fact that it was Jordan Bohannon, who's like a 6-year senior for Iowa, and it was a fireworks company, and that was the first sign for me. Did you?
A
What was
six year
yours? I mean, because I feel
senior,
like
a 6-year senior at Iowa signing on with the fireworks company is, boy, that is perfect. That checks all the boxes,
it is
doesn't it?
so good. And that's when I knew that we were in a new era. And instead of being upset like maybe the old guard is, I laughed. I cackled, I should
Yeah.
say, when I read that. And shout out to Boom Fireworks, shout out to Jordan Bohannon, and then shout out to NIL, because this is content, Titus. That's what I
Oh
think I
my God, it's
realized in
so
that
good.
moment, that this
Yeah.
this is so much content, so much good content.
I think my moment when I realized that this was bizarre was the word I used initially. I don't know if that's fair but that's the word that comes to mind. That it's like, oh, this is the reality is actually shifting. This is changing. This
Yeah,
is going
jarring.
jarring.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, oh my God, we've spent so much time. If a college athlete drives too nice of a car, we all freak out and get on
yeah,
forums and talk about what he's getting paid,
yeah,
where he's living, and all that. And now it's like in
yes,
your face that the athletes are like, I endorse this. And it's like, whoa, this feels weird, but I like it, but it's weird, whatever. The one that stood out to me was keeping it in the Big Ten, by the way. I don't know what this means that you threw out two Big
mm,
Ten. Mine is a Big Ten example, is the quarterback of Wisconsin, Graham Mertz is his name, right? He just
yes.
tweeted some video where a logo pops up at the end. And that was like I guess his way of announcing that I have a logo, which I saw like the Oklahoma, the Oklahoma quarterback has a logo as well. And I think that was when I realized we're living in bizarro times. That again, I can't think of any other way to describe it than that. But that's when it hit me that like all of these logos started trickling in. Every single one of them, every single logo that exists
Yeah,
for athletes now is their initials somehow put together. That looks
yes.
like a graphic design project from like sophomore year of high school someone put together.
I
Um,
blame Tiger Woods for this, by the way. The TW, it
yeah,
does feel like everyone has tried to jump on that bandwagon forever.
it's so bad. But the Wisconsin kid, I didn't even remember who he was. I thought like Jack Cohn was the quarterback of Wisconsin. I guess he's not. It's Graham Mertz. I was like, here's my logo. Be sure to get it on a hat or so. I don't know what, but that was the point. It was like I became so excited for this because I realized that this is going to be the norm for at least a year or two. I don't know how long the feeling out process is going to be, but I feel like
Yeah.
it's going to be at least a year or two of the companies themselves trying to figure out like what gets a return on investment, whatever. The players trying to figure out like is there a concept of being overexposed? Not to these guys right now. No, the answer
No,
is very much
no.
no. So they are not like picking and choosing what their brand should be. They're just like, give me everything. I'm signing up for
Yes.
everything. And
DM me. That
that's
that
when
is
I
pretty much
when I saw Graham Mertz had a logo, it hit me. I was like, oh my God, like everybody's gonna have everything, and this is gonna be the Wild West, and it's gonna be so good for content.
Yeah, I mean Spencer Rattler, it makes sense that he would probably have a logo, right? He's a Heisman Trophy guy. He's going to be talked about during this entire offseason. So I kind of let him. I was like, okay, you're branding yourself Spencer Rattler. Great name, you know what I mean? It all checks out. But my favorite was Bo Nix, the quarterback of Auburn, who signs with Milo's Sweet Tea. And he basically is like Ricky Bobby in this ad. He's like, if you don't drink Milo's, I'm gonna kick your ass. You know what I mean? This is the energy that I was hoping to see from NIL. And the Auburn quarterback like already being on it, already being on top of it. For it to be Sweet Tea, that's really solid too. I've seen a Carolina football player came out. He's signed with a gaming company. I mean, there's such a variety of brands. I think that's what I'm so excited about because
how much of it do you think is these brands just it's less about like the actual sponsorship and that they believe that this player will get them this
move
many
the
eyeballs,
needle,
and it's more about like this moment in time that like if we can if we can steal a headline because we're a fireworks company and we're one of the first name image likeness deals out there, maybe that's worth more than like actually Jordan Bohannon. Like fast forward 6 months, Jordan Bohannon doing commercials for this fireworks company probably isn't making them any money. But right now, this moment in time, we're talking about it. People are like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yes.
That's what I wonder how many of these deals were that. We're like, let's just get our money back on July 1st when we announce it. And everyone laughs at how ridiculous this is that we're doing this.
I mean, and talk about a great time for a fireworks company. It's July 4th coming up. You know what I mean? It's just, they hit the nail on the head. So shout out to the fireworks, the whole market. That was a nice market.
Jordan Bohannon, every time he hits a three, he's gonna like turn to the camera and go boom.
Yeah, and then they have like a graphic, like a fireworks shooting out at the top. Yeah, this is gonna be that's kind of the other fun part of this is like, what does it look like in season, right? Because we joked about the idea of a guy telling his coach that he can't make practice because he has to go shoot this fireworks commercial, or Milo Sweet Tea is saying I have to go do a signing this afternoon. Like, what is that all going to look like? How are those stories going to roll out? And the best part about it is that you and I, this is our job to cover it. So we're going to spend a lot of time laughing and like I said, cackling at how ridiculous this is. But we're also happy because it takes the elephant out of the room, right? That's been the big knock in college basketball for college sports in general for so long. It's like these guys are being misused, these guys are being mistreated, they're being exploited, all the buzzwords.
Literally slavery, as we've heard.
Yes. $1 Million Slaves. That's a book that came out about the whole industry. So the fact that whole conversation is at least being addressed in some substantial way, I think that's a W for everybody. It's so good that Jay Billis did a 2-minute video where he said it's right.
Whoa. That's Bizarro World. Now that is Bizarro World. But you're absolutely right, man. Like we've reached a point now where hopefully moving forward, we don't have to feel dirty or scummy or whatever else about it. And I never really have felt that bad, but I'd be lying if I said I've never been in a position where someone has asked me what I do for a living, and I say I talk about college basketball basically, and they're like, "You do what? You like that?"
They're like, "Gross.
That's gross. That's just my problem." And I'm like, I don't know, man. I just try not to think about it and just collect checks. I don't know.
Yes, the Dabo Swinney approach.
I was like, no. I go, my whole project. No, I'd be like, I spent 4 years as a player, so it's okay. That's
You're like, it's okay. You're like, I did my due.
I paid my dues. I'm allowed to profit now. No, so hopefully moving forward, like you don't have those conversations. We don't have like the temperature can cool down, as they say.
Yes.
The discussions around college basketball can be about whether Gonzaga is overrated, not whether the players should be paid, right? Like that's what we want. That's the fun part. I have absolutely hated this job. The FBI stuff initially was a ton of fun. But then it got a little bogged down with like having to read
Yahoo
boys. Like having to read all their journalism and like suss out like law shit. Like that's too much for me. I don't want to do that. I don't want to read through the NCAA bylaws. I don't want to, like it just all got, and then COVID happens and like suddenly we're talking about protocols with if this guy tests positive, does that mean that how many games should get back to, is Gonzaga overrated or not? Let's argue about it. That's why we watch college basketball.
And is it okay if Burt's Bees is sponsoring 2 guys on opposing teams that are rivals? You know what I mean? Like these are the conversations that we're going to talk about in the NIL world. Yes.
This is fun. This is what we want. This is all we've ever wanted. And we're excited about it. So yeah, I mean, we've kind of touched on a few of the pitfalls, which I think that's why we're so excited about this, is that this is not going to go smoothly for a lot of people. They're going to be,
Mhm.
you can already tell that there are, for all the exploiting college athletes that's gone on for 100+ years. It's not going to stop today. I'm here to
No.
tell you that. In fact, it might be worse. It's just going to be a different form of exploiting. And the players themselves are going to make money, so it's not going to feel as like in your face dirty about it. But the exploitation is going to continue, Tate. And I am semi worried about the pitfalls. But having said that, as I've been consistent this entire time we've been talking about all this stuff, um, it's not the NCAA's place. It's not my place. It's not your place. It's
Yeah.
none of our places to coddle the players and say like, we can't pay you because then XYZ might happen and that would be bad. So we're going to go ahead and not pay. No, no, no. If they want to like forget to file taxes, that's on them. You know, if
Yeah.
they if they want to, if this like blows up a locker room dynamic because one guy's driving a Maserati and the other guy's got his brother's hand-me-down beater because no one wants to pay him anything.
Yeah.
That's for them to sort out. That's not
Yeah.
like on the NCAA to, like there will
It's
be
not,
pitfalls.
it's not
Yeah.
a macro decision or like
Right.
like it has to all be handled individually, which seems it seems to make sense. And I saw someone say this, I can't remember who it was, so I apologize, but they said if these TikTokers can file taxes and pay money and get these sponsorship deals, you know what I mean? Like you've listened to these people talk, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
they're not going to change the world with their opinions or their brains, but our college athletes are at higher, educations and schools that are going to be able to facilitate these situations. And you and I even talked about building in an infrastructure where these guys have maybe some sort of school or whatever accountant that's like telling them, hey,
Yeah.
if you're taking a $20,000 deal in the state of California, you're only going to get 8,000 of that,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
this means this and da 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 da.
So here's an offshore bank account that I set up.
Yes. So now we're going to say you live in Puerto Rico.
We
Okay.
created LLC. We set it up in Delaware because they're filing fees or something.
Honestly, it teaches you a lot about business, right? Then you're like looking around and you're like, man, this is wild.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and undermine the point you just made about like if the TikTokers could figure it out, surely college athletes could. When I was at Ohio State, as some of our listeners might remember, I sold T-shirts, Club Deal T-shirts that I think you could still buy at Homage now. So I could not profit off of that back in the day. I donated all the money to a kid, again, a great charity in Ohio, and they've now expanded to Indiana. Great charity, does a lot of great work for. I'll plug them real quick. A lot of great work for 6 kids. Love a kid again, but I donated all the money to kid again. When my playing career was over, I went to a kid again. I was like, listen, man, I've raised a ton of money for you guys. They were very, very pleased with how it all went. They still like kiss my feet and treat me like a saint. And I was like, I cannot stress enough. I donated this money because I had to, but I appreciate that you think I'm a good person. So when my playing career ended, I go to a kid again and I say, hey,
give me my money back.
Can I have some money? Like, and they're like, we already gave it to the kids.
Yes.
So I went to these sick kids' houses. I banged on the door. I took away their Christmas presents, and I said, "That's mine." No.
Yeah, you're like, I worked hard for this.
No, I started once my playing career was over. I did like a 50-50 split, I believe, where like the checks would come from Homage for the because people were still buying T-shirts, or whatever. And I started getting some of the money now. I still gave some to kid again, but I was like, I could use some of this money. I have no job. I've been paying my way through school. Like, can I get a little bit of this? It all worked out. Long story short, Tate, that was when was that? That was in March. Between March and so a full year goes by. Come back around from March to December, whatever. I'm collecting these checks as I've graduated, whatever. I still don't really have a job, by the way. Fast forward to tax season next year. It is like April 14th, and my dad mentioned something about me filing taxes, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Have you filed for all the checks you got?" And I was like, I don't have a job. Filing taxes is for people who have a job. I don't have a job.
Dad, you're not getting this?
Duh.
Dad.
Read a book, Dad.
Yeah, Jesus.
And long story short, I owed like 10 to 15,000 in back taxes because I was taking these checks that were not having taxes taken out. And boy, did I learn it. And I tell you what, Tate, next tax season came around. I knew the tax code like the back of my hand. I read
That's what I was going to say.
Word on that shit.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than having to pay a lump sum of cash. And you're like, wait, what? Hold up.
I could teach a class on tax brackets and how taxes work in this country because of that. But
You hear this, Ohio State? This is your guy. Yeah,
there you go.
bring
So have me teach the kids taxes. But yeah, I definitely went through that, and it's definitely going to happen to someone else. That is definitely going to happen to someone else where it never crosses their mind that the money they're getting from their TikTok or whatever they're making, whatever college athlete is making their firework company, that you should probably pay taxes on this. But again, that's not our position to say like, let's not pay them because that might be a problem. Let them figure it out on their own. They'll owe a lot of money year one, but
can you imagine year 3, you're like preseason All-American, and then the story comes out that they're getting charged with tax evasion? You know what I mean? Like, it's like Elio Castroneves, and he got in trouble, like, but these are not pro athletes, and we're all just talking about an Ohio State player, and
coaches are like not renewing scholarships, and they're entering guys in the transfer portal for them because they don't want the heat that comes with the tax.
The IRS is the new FBI. Oh no, let's hope not.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. I'm excited about it. It is I think I'm glad the NCAA finally came out and did this, because I think we should make that point. Like the way we got here in the end is the NCAA finally at long last said we'll allow this. And for those who I've made this point a million times on the show, but I'll make it 1,000,001. The reason the NCAA did not do this earlier is because, like, maybe this is a horrible analogy, but this is one that comes to mind. Is you remember the dude that got his arm stuck in the when he was hiking the
127 hours. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I think the NCAA was that guy, and they knew their arm was stuck up against a rock, and they knew they had to cut it off. But it goes against every instinct you have to cut off your own arm. You know, like they knew that, like, once I do this, there's no going back, and this fundamentally changes who I am, and it's done. But also, if I don't do this, I'm probably going to die.
Yes.
And NC State is going to secede and start their own thing. So we probably have to do this. And I think that's what ultimately happened, is they cut off their arm. But like, the reason the NCAA didn't do this before is because, as I've said, the NCAA exists for two reasons, Tate. It was to preserve amateurism, to crown national champions. Now that the amateurism is out the window, do we need the NCAA? Do we need them at all? Can we not? Can we just crown our own national champ? College football figures it out. I would like to make that point as well, that the Division 1, Division 1A, whatever the hell you call it,
FBS, whatever.
FBS. The FCS fans got mad at me the last time I made this point, because I didn't include them in Division 1. But the top level of college football in this country, the national champion is technically not an NCAA champion, because the NCAA has nothing to do with that, with the football. So my point is, if they can stay out of the most profitable college sport we have, why do we need them for any other college sport at this point?
Yeah.
If there's no longer amateurism. You know what I mean?
And it used to be like the first arm. So the NCAA, we're going to use your analogy, they now have no arms. So the first time they cut their arms off, or their first arm, let's say their right arm, that was in 1984, as Jay Billis pointed out. And that was because, the Board of Regents and the NCAA, basically, the member schools every decision was made by the NCAA. The member schools could not independently make their own deals. They could not do merchandise deals. They could not do television deals. And then they took that into the Supreme Court, and then it gets knocked out. So then all the member schools were able to make this money. So it's already happened in 1984. So now this is the players getting the same freedoms that the schools got from the NCAA. So now the NCAA has no arms, but they can run. They can run. They're going to run. They're going to run. We know they're going to run. So to give the full context, now both sides of the equation, they're pretty much taken out of. And I think they're looking around, like you said, and slowly but surely the schools and the players, as they have more and more of these specific issues build up where they're dealing with this situation and that situation, and the NCAA does nothing but cause problems and put more enforcement and more rules and, more mandates and all this stuff. They're all going to look around and say, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? And then they start chanting SEC, EDE, and we move on from there. So the NCAA is walking a fine line right now where they're trying to make sure that people remember, hey, this is us. This is what we do. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're welcome. Make sure you remember this. Kiss the ring. Make sure you understand what's going on here. And it is going to be fascinating, because the Jay Billises of the worlds and, the Yahoo boys and all the Jays out there, like you and I, we're going to keep pointing these things out And we're going to keep asking, like, what do you do here? You know, we're going to be the Bobs in Office Space. We're going to sit down with the NCAA and we're going to say, what do you do here? And they're going to say, well, we hold this tournament. They're like, well, can't we just hold it ourselves?
Yeah, why do we need you? What is your purpose?
And that'll be fascinating.
Yeah.
That'll be fascinating.
I like the idea of big J. It's like Jay Billis and little J is like Jay Williams.
Hey there, thanks for watching Titus and Tate. For the full friend of the program experience, subscribe right below and come join us for all things college basketball. The action is heating up. Come join Titus and Tate.